Welcome this evening to Rebellious Ruth. Yes. Hope you are having a good week. Sorry, I always get jittery before these streams. But tonight, we're going to be discussing a very interesting and integral part of our society that's becoming a part of our society with Brandon from our YouTube community. So welcome, Brandon. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Ruth. Thank you for inviting me for the show.
Yeah. No, we're gonna battle it out and see if we can get to the bottom of why, what, and where, or who of polyamory. So, hello, Mr. Punisher. Glad to see you. All right. So you did your research in the last couple of days when we decided to, and what did you discover? What did you?
Well, I mean, I think firstly what I discovered is it's a very difficult name to pronounce, right? Polyamory. And it comes with a whole bunch of different flavors, right? So polyamory in itself is really the practice or the desire to have intimate relationships with more than one person or partner at a time with the consent of those partners, right? So it's like the umbrella term for having an open relationship, and there's many different ways to try and really delve down into what that possibly means. Most people firstly think, what, I'm married, there's no ways I'm going to do that. But polyamory really doesn't necessarily mean that you're married. It can be in any form of relationship. If you're dating, maybe you have open relationships with somebody that you're seeing steadily in a social situation as well. So that's quite interesting. And I mean, just at the outset, I'm not married, never been married, and I've always been, when I've been in relationships, I've been in committed relationships, and that's not something I've been exposed to necessarily. But the more one starts reading and sort of understand about it, there might be some aspects which is interesting. I'm not convinced yet. And I think part of the discussion now is to try and unpack it a little bit and see, what does that really mean in today's society? Yeah.
So shall we start off with the basic, I suppose, monogamy? What is the term monogamy involve? I don't know if you want to elaborate or I can. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. Give it a spin as far as you're concerned.
So I think monogamy is the practice of being in a committed relationship to either under state law or religious law to one partner, okay, for ever and ever, or till the relationship is decided at both accounts to end. So, yeah, and it's interesting though, however, that when we were looking up about this topic, someone mentioned that you can even be faithful in a polyamorous relationship. So being faithful doesn't necessarily mean you're in a monogamous relationship, which is kind of, so that, if that makes sense. So you can be faithful in a polyamorous relationship, and you can also be faithful in a monogamous relationship.
I just want to tease that out a bit so that we're very clear about a monogamous relationship, right? So you're saying that you're faithful, I mean, whatever that might mean, and maybe you can expand a little bit on that. But so, I mean, the basic understanding is that you're dedicated to that person for the length of your relationship, right? And how long is that typically? And what does being dedicated mean?
So what's sad is that I think relationships have become really an instant gratification, very short thing. In our day growing up, I think a true relationship in marriage would probably be in the span of 20, 30 years would be considered normal.
Okay.
Nowadays, I mean, I have a teenager, and in the circles I was once, you wait for your children and things, and you listen. I do. I always listen to banter. And I saw something where it said, oh, but I've been dating them for so long. It's been 6 months. And I'm going, like, how is that long? Like, I don't know, it's crazy how quickly life moves today, and I think it's actually sad. And I don't know if maybe polyamory is a result of that, if it's a natural thing. Is it because people are bored in their relationships?
Before we specifically get to polyamory, I just want to be clear, is you're saying that you're in a committed relationship is monogamy, and that would have been 20, 30 years, whatever it might be. However, outside of being married, right, I can't probably ask you on the stream how many relationships you've been in, but it's definitely more than one.
Yeah.
Right? And those would have ended in some form or the other, either through dating or possibly even marriages that may have ended. And so the question is monogamy an ideal and a fantasy that's been painted in Hollywood or in life about finding one soulmate and the perfect partner? And if you hold that belief, then why do you have so many different relationships throughout your life?
Wow, I needed to sleep on that. That's an amazing question.
Yeah.
So, and like Roy Hayes says here, committed to anything anymore is really rare. So, yeah. Sure. So let's try and unpack that.
So can you have multiple soulmates? And we're using time as the measurement here, right? Can you have multiple soulmates? Do you believe in multiple soulmates? If you believe in such a thing as love in your lifetime? And if the answer, you do?
I do, and I wish it for all people. I think it's important to, even if, what's that silly little adage, or it's better to have loved once than never to have loved at all. It sounds so cliche, but in a way it makes sense. And I think you evolve and you change and you look for better partners, you look for different partners, or I think you discover more and more what you like. And that's why, I mean, I'm not poo-pooing anyone I'm not outlawing polyamory for anyone. I wouldn't judge anyone. I think for me, it's a bit wild, because I have been in the whole monogamy type of relationship.
I want to break that down though, right? So again, if it's a timeline, right, and you're saying that it is possible for somebody to have more than one soulmate and to love multiple people throughout your lifetime and experience this different value that people add to that, right? So maybe at a certain time in your life, there were certain things that attracted you. A different time in your life, possibly as you get older, there's other things, or there's certain parts of your personality that is extracted by those type of relationships. Now, in terms of polyamory, what you do is you take what is in one lifetime and you say, well, I've had multiple different relationships over a period of time throughout my life, and you compress that into one reality and experience all of that at the same time. So if you hold the belief that you can love more than one person in your lifetime, why can you not love more than one person at the same time?
I think you can. I think you actually can. I mean, we have all different kinds of relationships in our lives. We love our animals, we love our kids, we love, note that order. No, I'm teasing. We love our partners, our parents, our family, our close unit. So, and we even tend to hate them sometimes. So I do think it is possible. I think it's not unnatural to be in a polyamorous relationship. I don't know if it's all that healthy, especially for someone who's not ready, who's not mature enough to handle something like that. I think you have to be really, really understand what you want, understand what you need, what the other person needs, respect boundaries to do something like that.
Okay. So you made an interesting statement, which is if you're not mature enough.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean people that are in monogamous relationships aren't mature in their relationships?
No, but I think people in general carry a lot of baggage, whether it be in relationships or being single. And I think to be in any relationship or even to be on your own, this is a very gray area. You have to be able to accept who you are and be mature and confident and content in that state. Right? So that's how I see it. And Roy is very chatty this evening. He says, as long as everything is out in the open to each other, I prefer one partner and to place all energy into that relationship at a time.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree very much from that perspective. So, dedicating and working on yourself in a committed relationship. And I mean, the opening statement that I made when we started this stream is, in all relationships I've had, when I've been in a committed relationship, I've been dedicated to building myself and my partner up to the best that we could be. I guess the interesting aspect of polyamory is whether, you can dip in, and I'm saying this to try and break a little bit of taboo and just keep an open mind about it. Dip into certain aspects of your personality which you may not be able to express with your partner without some sort of criticism or
jealousy.
And there is, the idea of polyamory is threatening to most people who's in a committed relationship because of jealousy, exactly as you stated, some level possibly of possession.
Insecurity.
Big
time.
And so, that's kind of the idea. I'm just trying to tease out a little bit to see what the upsides possibly could be for it. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm purely just trying to understand why there is a portion of our population that, or around the world, that might be into this sort of thing. It is such a remote idea for me that I can't get my head kind of around it, but I'm trying to understand it a little bit better. I mean, Ruth, I think you got some stats in terms of the typical flow on what percentage or amounts of people typically are in a polyamorous relationship in society, and we don't necessarily always know that.
So for now, I think that the out in the air is only about 20%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's as much as 40% in the foot. I don't know. I think
right,
especially today where, especially maybe more in the gay community, and I am generalizing,
right,
and I can I don't know, like someone mentioned in the group earlier, is it because people are bored? It's really, it's an amazing thing, because I'm sort of on the fence. Like I'm not saying I want to go ahead and do it, but if I was single and someone approached me and I felt attracted to those people and I felt in a mature space, maybe I'd give it a go. Maybe. I'm not saying no, but maybe for different.
But why? So again, right? Okay, so here's the thing, right? So we might want to get back to kind of what maybe is happening in nature, right? And I say nature being, if we had to fold any societal expectations, which has an aspect of nature in it, any laws, any religion belief or religious beliefs, we still have people cheating on each other in today's day and age, right?
Yeah.
Not that, I mean, so cheating is kind of a modern concept, right? That's somebody married is being a modern concept, if I can call it that.
I don't know if it's modern. I think it's been around for.
Well, I mean, I'm talking if you compare it to tribes days in villages.
Okay, fine.
Okay, you understand from that.
Yes. Okay, modern.
So the natural behavior seems to still be, whether you either consent to it or not, that there is an aspect of society which, whether you consent to it or not, is going to cheat, right? And that's on both sexes. So not generalizing on it, on that. And it's not everybody. The point I'm just trying to make is that there is that aspect which breaks any societal norms. And I'm not saying that the norm is even the right norm. Why is it that that happens, right?
So,
is that a natural thing? And so is that our natural tendency to want to do that? Or is that the absolute exception to the rule, the outlier to the rule? Why are there so many divorces?
I'd like to take a census, and I mean, I see the playbacks are happening, but I'm not sure so much in the comments. But if I think of my life experiences and I think about how many friends I've had whose partners have cheated on them, or friends who've cheated on their partners, the number is high. The number is definitely high, and I think it takes guts. And this is where I talk about maturity again, to be in a polyamorous relationship, if it works for you. But to go back to the religious thing, so on doing my research, it was said that Jews today still believe in polyamorous relationships and that it happens, but apparently the law was changed, I think already a few thousand years ago. It was changed by a German scholar by the name of Rabbi Gershom, and he said that like, this is not the way, and he was trying to protect women, especially because women were being abused, taken advantage of, not necessarily physically abused, or who knows, but there was definitely an element of, women weren't getting their needs met. Hey, Carl, nice to see you. Women weren't getting their needs met, things weren't happening, so they said, look, let's cut it down to one. And that was part of the Ashkenazic, the European Jewry, and not so much in the African, Eastern, Mediterranean Jewry. So apparently today it can happen, but usually it's not very common that you will find polyamory in the Jewish tradition. But I know that in the Muslim tradition, in Islam, it's quite, a man is allowed to take 4 wives, and it's allowed in Israel, and it's allowed in certain, obviously, Arabic countries. And it's very strange for us Westerners to think of it. But I mean, I understand it. It's weird. It's like, I get it. It's because like, for instance, this is my idea of, like, just basic, not polyamory in a sexual context. Like, you get all these single mothers today, right? Or single fathers. What if you created little houses, little nests, like little hives of single parents who lived together in a unit and helped each other live, right? Like, one woman would do the cooking, one woman would do the cleaning, one woman would do the homework and look after the kids, or whatever it is, right? For me, it's easy to understand that can be a mutualistic relationship.
Yes.
Right.
So I mean, you're touching on a whole bunch of interesting points, right? So you've just brought kids into the conversation, and I mean, this is where it becomes interesting, and that is from an offspring perspective. And again, casting back to earliest mankind days, if you will. It was a hunter-gatherer type of relationship, if you want to call it a relationship, right? And typically it was the woman's or the female's role to look after that child, and the male would typically try and spread his seed as far and possible as possible, right? The question is, did that change with the sort of industrial revolution, where women started entering the workplace and suddenly the roles have become equalized?
if not reversed.
If not reversed.
Especially in South Africa. When I go and fetch my son from school, I notice more male characters collecting children, which even 20 years ago would not even be heard of. You would not see that. There's no ways my dad would come upon high from whatever and come fetch me from school. Like
Right.
postpone a meeting, a business meeting, and okay, I blame that on the economy as such, but I think dads are doing so much more parenting today. Sorry, have I gone off your topic a little bit?
No.
I sort of have, but these roles have definitely changed. And it's also another topic that I'm going to get into about how men have become demasculated to a sense. Yeah.
Yes.
As you know, I'm not really a feminist.
Topic at all. I mean, you're speaking exactly to the point that I'm making is, if you took what that was previously, then it would have been, I can't call it a committed relationship, but the power, I guess, would have been, the woman would have been committed to the man, right? She would have been completely dependent to the man. The question is with polyamory whether that has changed and whether those balances have changed as a result of exactly what you're saying, and whether the dependency on the man is less so and or has accelerated a polyamorous type of environment, right? Of saying I don't necessarily need to be committed to one person only. I can keep my own. Who's driving behind that ultimately, right? Do you think it's a male-driven type of concept, or do you think it's equal on both sexes, or do you think it's a female-driven concept?
Sure. Well, I think it works individually. I think every polyamorous relationship could be different. The same that monogamous-stick and tongue-tied relationship could be its own thing. Like often you'll say, oh my God, she wears the pants, or oh, he's like a bit hot. Like I think depending on that unit and that individual, I think. I mean, obviously, every instinct in me is saying, "Oh, it's the man's choice. It's the man's vibe."
Right.
Okay. Which is why I think the law was changed back in the day, because I think men would. Come on, it's every dude's wet dream to have more than one chick. You know, I mean, as I'm entering my naughty 40s, I have had that beep beep thought. Not that there's any problems, but I'm like, why have one when you can have two? But I mean, I think like TG was joking earlier, it's like, oh shucks, two would be awesome. Wait a minute, that means two mother-in-laws. Hold the bus. No.
Yeah.
No. So so Carl's saying polygamy should be able to work both ways. Men shouldn't have all the choices. The females in polygamy society should be able to have multiple husbands if desired. No, agree. In fact, that's also how we decided to talk about this tonight, because our laws in South Africa are changing, if not worldwide, because it's acceptance of gay marriage now, and the umbrella is getting bigger and bigger, which is kind of scary. And I think as this expands, it's going to create sort of a shift. We might actually go full circle and come back to, like a reset. I think it might go so far and so hectically. I mean, we're on the conservative side of things, I think, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think,
I mean, this is bordering, Ruth. This topic is bordering literally. It's like one leap away from defining LGBTQI plus.
Yeah.
Because in researching this, I mean, polyamory, like I said, it's just like an umbrella term. I mean, you got everything underneath that, from one woman having multiple men to one man having multiple women to being completely open in relationships in terms of any of the gender types and including any of the gender preferences. And so that, the more I read into it, I'm like kind of just leaning a little bit too much to the left for me.
Yes, right? Yes.
Yes. I'm way more too conservative around how these relationships work. But it is interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
In I know in South America, the women actually have multiple partners outside of their husband, and the understanding there is actually that the men that sleep with them would actually contribute equally to the upbringing of their children, right? So in that way, it's kind of like a community type thing. And I know that just saying that out loud sounds like it's some form of prostitution, but it is a way to kind of contribute for exchange for pleasure, and it's a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, I think it could be very mutualistic if you got the recipe right. I mean we talk about harems, we talk about, I mean, Genghis Khan had, I mean, he was known for his harems. I mean, all the kings of the past had multiple partners and multiple things. Listen to me, multiple experiences, and there were all sorts of, I mean, they didn't have the internet. They had a different life where I think a lot of their concentration or their focus was on sex, was definitely on, keeping the mind entertained. You look at the Greeks. I mean, they had the whole Dionysus, what was it? The festival of wine, the god of wine and orgy, and yeah, it can get really like down a rabbit hole. But there's something, yeah, so Roy says this is an interesting subject. It's the commitment. Like I said, I'm an all-in type. Both of my marriages were a 50-50 on everything. So yeah, so like that's the thing. And I also wonder if it's not a power. Could it be powerful? And also, I mean, listening to that show that we spoke about, I think Gareth Cliff did a piece on it with some guy. What was his name? Eric Vedica or something. And he said that men in polyamorous relationships actually have to up their game, that they actually have to be better men because they're being judged twofold.
That's interesting, yeah. And that's exactly, so if you take a person as a universe, right, as an individual and their universe, and that's what I was saying a little earlier, is there's certain aspects of your personality that comes out with a particular partner, and something that might be suppressed to an extent. And please, to whoever's watching, I'm not saying that you pussy whipped in any way. I'm just saying there's some compromise you have to do in a relationship. Some may see that as a commitment. I do see that as a commitment. But the point is just, if you are afforded that opportunity to live out your wildest fantasy in one thing, and find love and attention in something else, and an emotional bond with somebody else, that kind of fulfills all of those different aspects and dynamics of your personality. At the same time, the downside, because there can't only be upsides, is that you may not fully appreciate the person that you're engaging with. There's going to be aspects of their personality which you kind of don't like, right? One person might be a little bit too domineering. The other person might be suffering from some addiction, right? And so, it's kind of a whirlwind, and this is where I can't see it being a long-term solution and of stable mindset and good for one's own psychological well-being in the long term. It's a leap that I can't make myself. I can respect somebody who wants to do this sort of thing, but and it's not a maturity thing. I think it's just it's very open-minded, and you got to be very strong-willed to deal with what's coming your way.
No, definitely. I think if you really have to make a very, very conscious decision, like this is the path you're taking, and I think even if you do it for a certain amount of time, then yeah. So I'm like thinking about all sorts of things as you're talking, and I need to write stuff down, but I think it's about so not understanding that that's what you need in the relationship, and they say it builds relationships, it can make a relationship stronger. I'm not sure if it does. I think long term, I think the scars would be quite severe if it did go pear.
I mean, I think the reality, Ruth, and I don't want to interrupt you. But just as you're talking and speaking out loud, is on a long enough timeline, right? There's going to be a dynamic thrown at you which you have got no control over, and the inevitability of it happening will over time become increasingly more, right? So whereas if you're in a committed relationship, yes, life can throw things at you. You kind of know how that person's going to react. You kind of know how to deal with that. You know what the emotions and ups and downs are, and you can work through that as a couple together. If you're in an open relationship, you constantly have new relationship dynamics that come into play all the time, which you cannot put a stop to. Once that door has been opened, once that Pandora's box has been opened, you have got no control over what's going to happen. And it could be fantastic. First partner, second partner, third partner, fourth partner. Fifth one is some maniac, stalker, whatever the hell it is, right? And how do you get through that as a relationship? Yes, again, if you're particularly strong in your relationship, maybe you can, but I don't know. I think you are tempting something which is inevitably going to lead into tears.
No, I think the woman, I think the woman, in a way, yes, it's up to them. I don't see many men, unless it's their sexual preference, to be with other men, allowing it. But I definitely think women need to be more accepting and comfortable and compromising with this situation. I mean, I went out to meet someone, and there was this little doll, dressed to the nines. I mean, she looked very provocative, and I actually wanted to have a cigarette. And you know me, when I drink, I'll have a smoke or two. And
like me, I'm going to have a smoke now.
Okay. And we saw her, and we went to the smoking area, and truth Bob, I didn't have a light, and I asked her table. I didn't specifically ask her, but I asked the person sitting with her if they got a light, and she offered me, and we started chatting. Look, she was such a sweet thing. She really was. But it was all plastic. The boobs were plastic. She'd literally been concentrating on becoming somebody's little plaything. And what was weird was, so the person she was with at the time left, and then someone else came and said, "Darling, are you okay?" And I looked at this, and this person said to me, "I don't want trafficking going on here." And I was like, "What? I'm just having a smoke, dude." Trafficking. I'm just having a smoke, dude. Like, chill. Like, it's cool. Like, he was quite a big guy. I wouldn't want to meet him in an alley. And I don't know. She something resonated with her, because she opened up to us, and she said, no, she's in a polyamorous. And to me, this was just like a mind fuck, because I went to ask for a light for my cigarette, and she has this little doll telling me, no, she's in a polyamorous relationship. And I mean, I didn't give her my number. I think she said she was on Instagram.
Did she ask you for your number, Ruth?
No. No, no.
Did you
No.
want to give your number just randomly? I mean,
No. But I sort of,
is
in
that
a
why you
way,
put the comment out there?
no, the reason I didn't as well, because I got the feeling that in a way she was crying out for help. And I knew, unfortunately, I'm not that person. 10 years ago, I maybe would have said, sure, take my number if you need. I have a son and a family and a full-time job. I cannot delve into someone else's drama at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No.
I just been down that road. I've been there, I've done that, I've seen it, right? Where you've got a friend who's either addicted to something or is going through a really bad relationship, but bad relationship in that they can't leave their partner. They'll call you at 4 o'clock in the morning, come get me, I'm packed, I'm leaving him, I'm done. And then 2-3 days later, it's back. So, no, I'm not getting involved in that. That is not my circus, not my monkeys. So, yeah. So
that's quite a good take, right? So here's a question. Is I don't know how many people fall in. Okay, so this is a little bit of a mind loop. How many people fall in love in a polyamorous relationship, right? So meeting a partner through polyamory and falling in love with each other to be in a relationship together. I think it is more likely that people fall in love, get into a relationship, if they were in love in the first place, right? Committed relationship. And at some point, one or the other is going to bring this topic up for whatever reason, right? And the question is that means that it's always going to be a power play from that person. The other person might go, okay, well, if that is the situation, I'll go along because I love you and whatever it might be, right? And so there's always going to be some dominant feature in a relationship. You can't tell me that people kind of fall in love by being polyamorous, and then I think the word love becomes an escape. It just goes.
If you love me, you do it. No.
Yeah.
I think it's fall in lust is the word you look.
Yes.
The one you're looking for.
And again, so at some point somebody needed to get hurt to get to that point.
I mean, imagine the game.
Even if it was the first relationship to say, this is what I want to do, the other person might have said, I don't want to do that. But the point is the discussion. I mean, if you getting into the dating scene, or you freshly on the dating scene, or you new on the dating scene, or you starting to date again, right? The point is that you don't go into a relationship, or you don't go into dating and then say to the person immediately, like, listen, I just want to sleep around with other people. Are you the same? That I don't know how often that happens. And I could be completely conservative, traditional, and
I think they do. Or that they are, come on, just like there's Tinder, Bumble, swipe right, swipe left, Grindr, whatever it is, there probably are tons. I mean, when we went to Sexpo 2 years ago, there was a guy standing in his stall shouting about how awesome swinging is. And so it's definitely out there.
I understand that people could be at a point in their life where they say, this is the lifestyle I adopt, right? But what I'm saying is, in their journey, in general society, accepted norms in our upbringing, in South Africa, we all grew up, well, whoever's listening here is probably predominantly South African. In their lifetime, the accepted norm would have been to be in a committed relationship. And if you've chosen that lifestyle, some point along the line, somebody must have gotten hurt, is what I'm saying. Either you were the person to break that, or you were the person that were broken. And then you adopted this lifestyle and said, well, fuck that. I'm not going to be committed anymore to one person. I'm just going to take what I need to.
Well, I think, and I love your schnauzer in the background. So I think that, and I mean, we're sounding like we know what it's like to be in a polyamorous, like that person. And I think for you, having said that, I think what you're reflecting is basically saying that's what it would take you to be. I'm just mirroring you here.
Sure.
What it would take you to be in a polyamorous relationship, that you would necessarily feel, and it's not, hope it's not too personal, that you would feel that's your boundary, like you would have been hurt, and that's where you now going to take the best you can out of that situation. That makes any sense? I hope so. But
Yes,
maybe not.
if I was the person broken, but I mean, it could be the reverse as well. Is if I look back at all my relationships, if I had to, in a committed relationship, say to my partner, listen, this is what I want to do, the people I dated would have been like, what the fuck? So somebody would have gotten hurt along the way. This is not something that just happens by chance.
I mean, sorry, I don't want to, but I mean, I remember a friend of mine, she was dating a guy. She didn't date him for very long. She really liked him. And he turned around to her one day and he said, well, and this is already like, we were in our 20s. And she was so happy, and it was the relationship she was looking forward to. And he turned around to her and he basically said, and they'd already, like, you know, obviously had relations and stuff. And he said to her, I don't know if I'm gay or straight. And this put her, she like had a total freak out breakdown. We managed to pull her out of herself and say, listen, he's obviously got issues. And it came out years later that he was actually molested at a party, got wasted on some stupid sweet girly drink. And he woke up with some guy like on him. I don't know where he is today. I don't know. I don't even remember his name. But it's crazy how our trauma and our psyche, and I think this is where I'm heading with my channel, is that eventually I want to get to, okay, we talk about all the physical. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about why. Why do we make those decisions? What influences us from our childhood, whether our parents were in a tumultuous relationship that we chose never to be married, or we saw our parents in a beautiful relationship and then we do get married, divorce, single parent family. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I would have loved to have studied psychology. Maybe one day I still will. But it's definitely interesting to explore different ways of being. And I don't always think it's got to do with pleasure. It might be emotional pleasure to have two people around. Or even, I've sort of bounced off the topic.
No. I mean, you're 100% right, Ruth. I mean, I told you heading into the stream that generally, I mean, the streams are fun and there's lots to laugh about, and by nature that I'm somebody who just likes to poke fun at things, right? Mm-hmm. But I think this is an important thing, because I'm seeing it in society, and I'm seeing kind of a bit of a, in my view, once again, folks, it doesn't mean it's the right view. I'm seeing a decay of what is traditional values. And to your point, in terms of what happened in childhood and that sort of thing, is exactly 5 minutes ago I was saying that something needed to happen to get you to the point that you are right now, if you're in that type of relationship, right? And at some point in your history, whether that was when you were 16 years old, 21 years old, or even in childhood, but I'm just explaining that something must have happened whereby the dream of being in a committed relationship and working on love and taking the time committing to somebody and building yourself, that dream was shattered for somebody that brought you to this point in time, right here, right now. And I cannot fathom that it can be emotionally fulfilling in the long term to be in those kind of relationships. I'm a single person right now, and I've been in committed relationships. I've been in serious relationships. I've never been married because I haven't found the right person, in my view, right?
Mhm.
But the point is just that I cannot even imagine giving all the experiences that I've had to live with the tumultuity of having multiple partners and all of their psychological drama. And this is not about me. I'm trying to just imagine and understand that kind of lifestyle. And for me, it's not something I aspire to.
No, it's fair. I mean, and you're entitled, and there are lots of comments. I mean, some people saying it's fair for people after. I mean, the Bruce saying after his mom passed away, 2 years afterwards, his dad met someone and managed to spend the rest of his remaining years with his squeeze. I don't know if I said squeezer right, but squeeze.
Yeah.
And I think we all deserve to be happy. I mean, Kyle's got each to their own, and he's right, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's about not doing harm. I think if you go into any relationship with good, realistic expectations, but we don't. We also have like what is love? Some would say love doesn't exist. It's all a chemical conundrum that happens in your brain, and it's all hormonal, and it's all just chemicals, and you know who the hell knows anyway. So yeah, in a way, I don't know if I sort of am getting the sense that I almost admire people who are able to be in a polyamorous relationship, sort of like maybe not like just that they're at that level where they're prepared to experience that. I'm not saying I would. I don't know what's with me lately. I'm in a very middle ground, non-judgmental like space. Like I just feel, you know, be at peace with everyone. Okay, my hippie side is coming out.
Yeah.
I know Roy said that his wife passed away in 2015. Sorry, Roy. And you haven't been able to date. Well, it's a cesspool out there. Just ask Brandon. Do you find it? And it's become, I think it's very hard for guys to meet nice girls, but we're going to deal with that. We are, Brandon, hey? We're going to deal with that. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Now that we've possibly excluded 25% of our base here. I don't know. Listen, folks, I can't. I'm not watching the comments. I'm trying this new stream.
Streamlabs.
Yeah, Streamlabs, right?
Yeah.
So whatever your comments are, I'm hoping that you're finding this at least either relatable or interesting or different ways of thinking about things.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So Roy says in this day and age, I have serious trust issues with everybody. No, I don't blame you.
Yeah, absolutely right.
I don't blame you.
That's
Not
kind of where
one
I
single second.
Well, so if that is anything relatable, I am where I am because of that very reason. So yeah. And it's not trust issues that I'm paranoid about people. It's just, you know, I get home, I'm happy being alone and enjoying my own time.
Yeah.
I've got nobody to argue with, and I've got nobody else's stress and shit that I need to deal with. So yeah.
Yeah, and but on a word of caution there, I think the longer, I mean, I'm so glad my sister's an amazing woman, and she was also alone for a long time, and she loved her alone time, and she still does. But she now has someone in her life, and I think they've also been dating for quite a while. She's a real, as they say, a bala boss. She definitely, I mean, like, men be very afraid. She'll tell you exactly what's what. But this man really loves her. I think he loved her for some time. I think he was always in love with her. which is kind of sad because he was married. Well, I don't know. I think he just was able to. Actually, I'm talking Atapu. I don't know. It just they'd known each other for some years, and I think once he was free, he decided now he's going to go after maybe something he really wants. I don't know. But I guess the point of my thing is don't become so isolated that you forget what it's like to be around humanity. And I think this is, I mean, yes, there are two sides of the coin, obviously. Like sometimes you prefer your furry friends compared to human beings. For sure, I get it. But I think with this whole lockdown saga and shit that we're still in, it makes you realize I don't want to do that. I don't want to live in a world. I'm an extrovert. I could never be alone for long, long periods of time and isolate myself from family, friends, or even the chance of falling in love. It's because we creatures of habit. We get so bogged down with being in a certain way, right? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So even people who are in relationships, even bad ones, are so used to being in that rotisserie that they can't break away from it. And I think even if you're single, it happens to you as well. And you sort of get so happy in your little cocoon that you don't want to break out. You don't want to maybe, or you do. I don't think you're an us. I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking in general. You know, I mean, you're not isolated at all. You have more of a social life than I think most of us. The pet zoo
Yeah,
from
but
Tuesday.
I know when to escape to my safe place, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. You shouldn't get completely withdrawn within yourself, absolutely, or become a hermit, or whatever the word for it is, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I lean towards a certain opposite aspect to polyamory,
And that's your God-given
which is not
right.
necessarily healthy either, right? I guess that again, taking polyamory, which means if you're single and you're not in a committed relationship, maybe you're practicing a form of polyamory in any case.
Yeah.
You're seeing different people. You might take somebody home and you're not in a committed relationship, and that's fine.
Okay, so there are 3 comments. So Mr. Punisher says on that note, and you don't need to ask permission. Lol. Like he gets it. He gets it.
What's happening?
By the way, I don't know, TG's holding up some note for me. I can't read his handwriting, but I think I'll just say this: subscribe, guys, if you haven't yet subscribed. But the Pet Zoo Guan says, the Pet Zoo Film Guru says monogamy is not natural to human nature. If so, it means from all the apes, the most social of all, we claim imaginary thoughts of being the only ape with monogamy needs. Humans always window shop.
Right. Very good point. And I can't disagree with that. I mean, that's exactly what I was referring to earlier, when I speak about the village people, and that's a very bad reference. But yeah, if you take it back long enough, we weren't monogamous back in the day. So why do we believe that this is the way that it should be today? Maybe it's my upbringing and society, but there are people cheating. Divorce rates are skyrocketing. And, so is that human nature to be in only one relationship? Even if we are in multiple relationships, people come and go, people die, then there are divorces, you fall in love again, you experience the same things. So who am I to judge, right? It's just not a label that I've necessarily given to anything before.
Yeah, so I think, and talking about divorce, I think there would be so many more divorces if it wasn't expensive and you weren't about to lose half of anything, including your children. But I do not believe that you should stay with someone in a toxic relationship. And I'm not telling people now to go and get divorces. I'm just saying whatever reason you give yourself to stay with someone that denigrates you and puts you down and you are not happy with, your soul does not feel joy or contentment, it's not a good space. And I think if it wasn't due to financial burdens, life would be a lot more easier. Yeah, the Pets You film says he's a hermit by choice.
So it's not C19, right? I'm not going to say it in case this thing gets tagged.
Oh, I forgot about it.
No.
Yeah.
Mentioned it once. We're talking about real life issues, yeah.
Yes. So you were saying, yeah, the C19, like whether it's affected. It's
definitely brought out an aspect of that in some people. Some people have found comfort in it and are having difficulty actually making a leap outside of it again. So they kind of use it as an excuse, or it's very difficult to use it as an excuse these days. But certainly I think it has brought out aspects or extended aspects of certain personalities to that extent, right?
Yeah. So Roy says his first wife always used to say, look all you want, just don't touch. Yeah, I'm on a seafood diet. I see all the food.
You see food, yeah, but you don't have it.
Yeah. But I think, like, advice for Roy, if there's something you enjoy doing, whether it's a hobby or a club or a whatever it is, maybe go and do it in the real world, in the physical world, and see where it takes you. You might just meet someone really, really nice.
Roy, what I can tell you, we recently had a bit of a social get together with people that we've never met before. Some of us obviously have, but a very wide range of personality types and a lot of single people. It wasn't a dating thing. It was just people getting together and having a good time. And I can, so if you're feeling a little bit stuck in terms of that, reach out to Ruth as a channel, or find me somewhere between the contacts on here and join us at the next session. It's fun. There's a lot of laughs, and it's a good way to just kind of get out there and experience social
interaction again.
Interaction. Yeah. So, Roy, thanks for watching. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And what's the group again? I forgot my name in it. It's Rebellious. Oh, I think TG is going to flash it across the screen, Nana. What's it? Rebellious 2.0 group on Telegram. And Telegram is just like WhatsApp, except it's actually nicer in that you can change your settings. In fact, don't ask me. I'm technically challenged. I don't know if you have to amend your settings to not show your number or show your number or your name. Don't ask me.
Ruth can't even type on a phone keyboard, so.
Hey, yeah, I prefer voice notes, and yeah, that's okay. That's true. I was nearly going to biff you there, virtually biff you, but you're right. Yeah. I prefer to phone still. I'm so old school. No, I have lost, I think, more friends because I text and because of mismeaning, because I think in my head like I was like, damn, and I'll literally type,
there's a weird thing happening though, which I've picked up, right? So I like the written word because it gives me an opportunity to think my thoughts through and present them in the best way that I possibly can. Whereas on the moment, like a live stream like this, it's literally just blabbing out whatever comes out of your mouth. But there seems to be a movement back to kind of wanting to hear a voice, the tonality of the voice, if there's sarcasm, if it's intended or not. And so voice notes is one step towards that. And hearing a person live, whether it's through a voice channel or phoning them, seems to be making a bit of a comeback.
Thank God.
So, yeah. Yeah, thank God. You can actually hear the person on the other side. You can put a face to the name. You can meet them in person. Imagine that. You can shake their hand.
Wow.
Wow.
That's like,
And give them a
whoa.
hug. How cool is that?
Whoa,
You
that's
can,
like you on the board. That's the verge. You're on the edge.
You know what's happening
that's
next.
Risque.
Yeah. Especially if it's a girl.
Or a guy, whatever you prefer. Well, I don't know about that, but yeah.
I mean, Ruth, my last comment just around this entire topic is if you know, it's all great experimenting, and we all do that kind of, through our lifetimes, right? But if your values are looking for love and have an ideal partner, stick to those until you find them. Don't degrade yourself into just wanting some emotional attention, because it's not going to be long lasting. And that's my parting words around that matter. And then we can possibly wrap it up from my side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree to the point that be authentic to yourself. It's so hard, people, I mean, I remember in matric, everyone used to say, oh, what are you going to do in like next year? What are you going to do? Are you going to study? And so often I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I mean, I've figured myself out more. Thank God. I'm 42 and I get it. Know who I am, sort of. I'm on my way. But it takes so long for you to actually get to know oneself, and then you've got to involve other people and relationships. Look, if that's the way, that's what floats your boat, lekker. But I'm not ready yet to go down that path. Not yet. Maybe later in my naughty 40s, we'll see, but not yet. So
Yeah.
No.
Maybe if it's in your star sign, right?
No. Those sort of things aren't in star signs. Or maybe they are. I don't know. Good night, Kyle. And what's it say? Roy says, yeah, I'm an in-person type. That way you can read body language, facial expressions, voice inflection, etc. No, very nice, very nice. Petsu Film Crew, the brew and you are lekker talking. I think, yeah, we've about wrapped it up. So there's no real judgment. I think just know yourself. Should I quickly read those last few rules of being in a polyamorous relationship?
Sure, let's go for it. Yeah.
Something I found while we were the phone's just very slow because it's very full. So apparently the rules of polyamory are: make time for just the two of you. Well, if they're three, okay, I'm gonna put my foot in it now. Set boundaries. Respect your partners. Wait, what? Respect your partners. Okay. Keep your expectations realistic. Maintain constant open communication. And make the most of your me time. Consider, maybe this will give us a bit of a shock into reality, into our monogamous relationships. Consider your motivations and your partner's motivations.
Right.
So I think on those notes, I mean, the one is just actually like ridiculous, but in a way, it's you in your monogamous relationship. You have to make time for the two of you. With kids, family, whatever, you always have to make special time to be in people's lives. That's your significant other or someone in your life. And yes, maintain constant and open communication. It doesn't help you be like ships in the night where you living in a household and you just past each other. I think that is so toxic. That is just, that's just not in a place I ever want to be. But yeah, and that's sort of my take from it. I mean,
it's a very good way to end the stream, Ruth. Is I've kind of attacked the idea in some way. I've tried to find the good in other ways, but it is equally as important to understand if you are in a monogamous relationship and it ain't working for you, don't stay in it, because that's equally as bad as a toxic polyamorous relationship. So I'm not there to judge, but the point is just, stay true to your authentic self,
Mm.
your upbringing, your values. And if it ain't working for you, try something different or get out of a relationship. But don't hurt somebody, and don't be the one that gets hurt. And that's me for now. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Well, yeah, I know I've got a couple of other things lined up for next week, but have a marvelous week and a lekker weekend. I'm sure I'll be back on the YouTubes at some point, but yeah. Oh, TJ's telling me subscribe. Yes. Oh God, give it a thumbs up. No, it's all good. I do this as a hobby. I do this to, I think, yeah, the sort of compartmentalize. If that makes any sense. But Brandon, thank you so much for joining me. Stay on, and wishing everybody a lekker evening. And yeah, cool. See you next week.
Thanks, Ruth. Thanks,
Take care,
folks, for joining.
everybody.